welcome to another episode of Stuck in My Mind podcast. I am your host, WIZE. My next guest is a fellow podcaster. She's also a business growth strategist. Welcome to the show, Donna Dube.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
The pleasure's all mine. Let's just jump right into this. So Donna, can you share a bit about your personal journey into the world of entrepreneurship and what drove you to become a business growth strategist?
Yeah, for sure. So probably like many of your listeners, my journey was not straight and narrow, but windy and twisty. And so I actually started after high school, went and got my RN degree and was a nurse. So I worked in the ICU for a number of years. And one might wonder, what does the ICU have to do with entrepreneurship? And to some, there's not a lot of connections, but I do see connections behind the scenes because in the ICU, you are busy looking after patient, but also family. And while I never thought of my patients as a project, to some extent there's lots of moving pieces, lots of things that you have to keep track of. And so definitely that skill has helped me as I came into the entrepreneurial world. But I really enjoyed working in the ICU. I love the work, but I found once I had a family, the shift work was not coinciding with me as well. And so we were looking for a change at that point. And so then I actually left there and homeschooled my kids for quite a few years. Again, another project. And then from there was looking to get back into the workspace once they got a little bit older. And wondering what can I do? How can I do this? And at that time, the online world was starting to become more popular. And so I moved into doing project management. So I would come into a business specifically for a certain project and help them run that. So looking at budget, looking at team, delegating, and ensuring that we can finish that project on time, on budget, and successfully. And what I found from doing that was that there were so many business owners drowning. On the outside, they looked great. Things looked good on social media. Everything looked good. But they themselves were stuck, working too many hours, not knowing what to do in terms of what their priorities were, and wanting to grow to the next level, but just not sure where and how because they were already at capacity with what they were doing. And so I really wanted to come a little bit deeper into those businesses and help the leader really lead and manage what they had started. And so I went and did a certification, director of operations, which is really on the back end of businesses. And then I now work with those leaders to help them leverage what I say, three things: their time, their talent, and their tactics, so that they can grow their business to the next level without working 24/7. I know for myself when I started as an entrepreneur, I for sure was working 24/7, right? I was accepting anything that was coming my way. Boundaries? What were boundaries? I didn't have any boundaries. And while I enjoyed my work, it was definitely having an effect on my family and my friends, right? People were saying, well, when can we get together for lunch? Oh, I'm working. Family going, well, Mom, when are you going to shut down the laptop? Right? Mom, we used to do this. We can't do this anymore. Right? And at first, I'll be honest with you, I was a little stubborn about it because I was enjoying what I was doing. And so I didn't really see any need to change. But finally, my husband said, listen, something needs to change because if something doesn't change, we're going to break, meaning as a family unit. Right? And that was sort of a wake-up call, which I didn't enjoy, to be honest with you. I didn't want to hear those words, but it was true. And so that's when I really had to take a step back and really do some reflecting and some strategizing and figure out, how am I going to grow this business without me having to be in there 24/7? Because while I enjoyed my business, I certainly didn't want to lose my family. And my husband was right. I was going to be on a one-way track to burnout. I just didn't see it yet.
Yeah. So in your experiences, what are some of the unique challenges that business owners face in this digital landscape right now, especially those running online based businesses?
Yes. Do we have enough time?
Just a couple of, we have a little bit. We have some time. Yeah, you don't have to give us all of them, but yeah, of course.
Yes. So, definitely from the operations standpoint, I feel a lot of business owners can't step away from the day to day. So, like the tribe I fell in, we start our business with solopreneurs. We are doing everything, right? Instead of CEO, we're chief everything officer. But as our business grows, we need to be able to learn to step back and let go of some of that. Whether we're going to hire some of that out to contractors, employees, whether we're going to automate some of it, or whether we're going to stop some of it. Because to be honest with you, some of what we're doing isn't moving the needle forward, right? We're not actually seeing a return on investment, but we think we should do it. We don't take the time to actually critically look at the data and say, is this really helping me? Am I getting that return on investment for the time I'm putting in? And so being able to really look at our business critically and be able to step back and be the true leader of our business rather than in our business as an employee makes a world of difference. And it's not easy to do. Guaranteed, it's a journey, right? Every day it's a journey. But the more we can work at that and have that as our goal, the better off we can be.
Okay. All right. And and the philosophy of doing less better is central to your approach. How did you come to realize the importance of quality over quantity in business?
Yes, yeah. So again, really, it was hit me in the face because while I enjoy doing some of the things I was doing, making Canva images, playing with email sequences, changing a landing page, updating the web page, if I actually looked at what my billable hourly rate was as leader of the business, and I multiplied that by the amount of time I was spending doing those types of tasks, that was costing me a lot of money. And so I really had to look at it from that objective standpoint and say, you might like doing these things, but how much is this costing? And while I'm busy doing those things, I can't devote my time to those CEO level, those growth level tasks that I need to do as business leader to actually move my business forward. And so once I could get a hold of that and say, okay, if I can bring someone in to do these things at $25 an hour, that's cheaper than my billable rate. And now I can focus on those things that me as leader has to do, right? Because I can't delegate those things. But these maintenance type tasks, I can delegate, automate, or stop.
Okay. Yeah. And that's something I've learned within the last year and a half is automate stuff. I've automated my email now where I'm building my email list and I'm sending out once a week a weekly wrap up of what my YouTube channel is airing, what I have on my audio podcast and my blog posts and everything. So I've simplified it and included it and started an email that like I said, I send it out every week. And that was something I wasn't doing before because it was so time consuming having to fill out all the. So when I automated, shout out to my friend Phil Better who actually showed me how to do it, and it's been a blessing. It's helped me grow. It's helped in so many ways. It's a tool that I wasn't using when I first started podcasting. So now to use it now and see the difference and see the help that it's given me and doing a lot of things that had I decided to do it myself, it would take so much time.
Yes. Yes. And now you can be consistently in front of your audience without that stress and headache, like, oh, I can, but it's going to take too much time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this podcast is another good example of where, as business leader, you can say, okay, I want to do a podcast. How many people have said, I want to do a podcast, but it's going to take too much time, right? Sure, some of us, that might be an excuse, but when we actually look at it, we can set our team up and have processes so that we as business leader don't need to be in every piece of getting a podcast out there, right? Yes, you have to be here doing the interviewing. It's your podcast, you're the host, right? But all the other pieces can be done either through automation or through team, right? Have a calendar link so I can book in a time, make it nice and easy. We don't have to do it back and forth, right? You can even have someone reviewing pitches for you if that's not something you want to have on your plate. When the episode's done, you can have someone edit. You can have someone else make the post, send it out, get that automation in for your email, right? So you don't have to have your fingers in every piece of it. It's still your podcast, but we have to look at our processes that way and say, what do I need to do in this as business leader? And what can I automate and delegate so that I can take some of the pieces off my plate?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've started using different tools to since I'm live, I don't necessarily have to edit. That solved that issue right there.
There you go. Yes.
So going live and doing the show live has
Yeah.
saved me so much time as far as editing go. And then there's tools out there that I've Cast Magic is a great tool that I use that I upload my MP3 to.
Mhm.
It transcribes the whole thing for me. It gives me episode titles, blog posts, gives me threads that I can use to use on threads or tweets, or
Yeah.
it gives me LinkedIn posts that I can use. And these are things that if I was to do it myself, it would take hours upon hours. Well, now I just upload this MP3, 10, 15 minutes, probably less than that. I have all that content to use.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Right. And yes, it might cost a little to get into that tool. But again, you're investing in yourself and
So
your business, right? So if you pay $30 a month for a tool that saves you 2 hours, it's worth it.
it saves me. And the great thing was I got it at a great rate where, because I probably release 5 audio podcasts a month, because I take the audio, because I do 3 live shows every week. So I choose the ones that I felt like, oh, this was a real great episode. Let me release. And then it always gives me backups in case this time I don't record it and I need to release something. But it's helped me so much in so many different ways that, and like I said, I got it at a great deal. I got it where I have I bought it on AppSumo. I purchased it on
Oh, yeah.
AppSumo,
Yeah.
and I got a package for it. I get 200 minutes a month that I can use, and I paid $79 for it. And
There
I
you
don't have to.
go.
Now, if I want to add more credits to it, that's more, of course. But for 79 bucks, I get 200 minutes a month for the lifetime of however long I've used Cast Magic.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You can't beat it, right? And with all of the AI coming,
yeah.
more opportunities like this are going to continue, right? It's going to
Mhm.
get better and better as it goes. Yeah, you have to have that human touch in there, of course. But like you say, it gives you the foundation, it gives you the basis. You can go in and tweak and change,
Yeah.
make what suits your voice. But that's much easier than staring at a blank page going,
And
what am
try
I
to
going to
figure out.
write this
Yeah.
week?
Yeah. No, it really does. And like you said, I go back and I read it through, and I adjust what I want to adjust, whatever threads I want to use, and change, and it's saved so much time, and especially things that it's doing things that, like, I wasn't doing before. Before I was using Cast Magic, I didn't do a blog post for my podcast, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, why don't you do it? That's an important element of it." And they're right. It's something that it gives you more content. It gives you
Mhm.
much more searchability and stuff like that for your podcast. And it was something that, all right. So since I've started using Cast Magic, you can tell by the growth of my podcast that me investing in these tools has really helped me grow.
Mhm. Yes, yes, for sure. Right. And there's so many different ones out there. And I
Yeah.
know sometimes for business owners, it gets a little bit of a rabbit hole and you start looking and you think, oh, there's too many options. Right. And so my advice is always know what you're looking for before you start the search. So, no, I want a tool to do A, B, and C. right? And then just hone in on that. When you find one that's in the price range you want to use, the reviews are where you want, give it a try, right?
Yeah.
And if there's 3 other tools that are better, don't worry about it. Just go with what's working for now and doing what you need, right? Because some of the tools have so many bells and whistles that we'd never use. And then we get overwhelmed trying to implement it because we're not sure about how to do all the things behind the scenes, right? If
Keep
you
it
only need
simple.
it for 2 things, use it for 2 things.
Yeah, I try to keep it simple. I try to use tools that I know I'm going to use, and okay, good. It does what I need it to do. It gives me the description. It gives me everything I want. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm sure there's probably other programs out there I can use, but for me, this is a tool that I did my research on it. I looked at it. I know someone who's using it. They told me, and I jumped right into it.
Yeah.
Another thing for me was when I first started podcasting, I joined so many different Facebook groups and stuff like that to find guests.
Mm,
I signed up for Podmatch.
yeah.
It's been a great relationship. It's actually helped me again, um, really grow my podcast. Because now, instead of me having to go out and search for guests and go to Facebook groups and all these different places, I have people reaching out to me, and if they're a match, if they feel like how you were a match, I'll accept them. If I don't, if there's something I won't accept them. It's a great tool because now for podcaster, for me, for being an independent podcaster, you I don't I'm not monetized,
Hmm.
but Podmatch gives me an opportunity to actually make some money by
Yes.
interviewing certain guests. I
Yeah, it's
might
an interesting model. I
Yeah,
really like it as
it's a
well.
great it's a great it's like I've the money I've invested into using Podmatch, I've probably quadrupled it, like so much more, because
Hmm.
every 3 months I'm receiving 100 or something dollars every 3 months,
Yeah.
and I'm spending $6 a month for for what my part of my tier in Podmatch is, and that's a great return in my investment. Excellent. So, and like I said, they're looking out for independent podcasters, people like myself who are doing this and aren't making any money.
Yes. Yeah. And I believe that's how we met each other.
Yeah. So, so as the host of the CEO Amplify podcast, what actually inspired you to create a platform specifically aimed at empowering business owners?
Yes. So I think a couple of things. I was blogging prior to
Yeah.
the podcast, and same as you, I was feeling the weight of what am I going to write this week? How am I going to get it out there? And so that was kind of weighing on me. And yes, I was thinking, okay, do I hire someone? Do I look for an AI tool? What do I do? Um, and then I started guest podcasting by accident, actually, because a couple of business friends of mine had a podcast that we fit. And so I started guesting. Oh, I kind of enjoy the guesting. And so then I thought, no, I'm going to try to do a podcast. And so what I actually did was record just a few episodes myself. I hadn't had a name yet. I hadn't had any art. I didn't have anything. I just thought,
I know the whole thing.
right? Yeah, let me sit in front of my laptop with a microphone and see what kind of mess I can make, right? And so, after doing that, yes, it was a little strange. I will admit it was a little strange, looking at your laptop and talking to it with no one paying attention. That was a bit strange to get used to. But yes, I just found, you know what, this is a workflow I can fit into my week easier than doing the blogging. And I too enjoyed listening to podcasts, right? Out for my walk, dropping the kids somewhere, waiting for the kids or something. It's handy, it's convenient.
Mhm.
And so while I still enjoy reading blogs, especially if I want a certain piece of information, right? Because it's easier to find if I want to search for
Yeah.
something, how to do something. It's right there on the blog. But I do enjoy the podcast as well. So that's what sort of inspired me to get started. And then I said, you know what? I have a voice. I have things I want to share with the world. And so let me try podcasting and go for it. And I know I'm realistic. It's a long game. It's not, start my podcast today and people find me tomorrow. Nothing's like that anymore, right? But again, I looked at it and said, this is something I'm willing to do. I have time built into my week every week to do my preparation, do my episodes. And yeah, so far it's been a fun journey.
Oh, I love my journey. It's so I had originally bought me I had really bought I brought a podcast studio for $160 from Amazon, and
Okay.
it came with a little mixer, a mic, some headphones,
Mm,
and an adapter for my laptop.
yeah.
And so I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a clue because I wasn't a media person. I wasn't into all that, and I had the equipment sitting around for over a year.
Mm,
I purchased it 2019. 2020 hits. I get furloughed from my job because of the pandemic and everything.
yeah.
And so I go, you know what? I'm just sitting here one day. I have my nephew on the phone, and I didn't have the proper hookup. I didn't have the phone jack that goes into the mixer. So I just held the phone up to the mic and had the introductory episode, which was probably like 5 minutes long, whatever, and everything. And I didn't have a thumbnail. I didn't have a description. I didn't have a title
Yes.
for. I didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
And I just went and up, and I was like, and my nephew's like, no, we gotta make it perfect. I'm like, no, there's no perfect. We just gotta release it and just release it and then just keep going, and people are gonna see the growth. They're gonna see from
Yes.
look where we're at here to where I'm at now. Where
Yes.
now I'm video and audio. I've learned different. I've improved on my mic quality. I've improved on video. I've learned so much
Hmm.
that now I'm charging for my services to help people start launch their own podcast and
Yes.
avoid the situation and avoid the pitfalls that I went through.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because
And it's so good. I think that the part I really enjoy about the podcast is that your audience gets to see you as a human, right? With the good, the bad, and the in between, right? And
yeah,
so, when those first episodes are kind of clunky or not the best audio or whatever, they get to see that. And I feel like it's so authentic and people know, like, and trust you so much faster when you're just being real. And that's what it is.
I'm here. It's just my camera flaked out on me right quick, but I'm still here.
No
Hold on
problem.
a
Yeah.
second.
Yeah. Right. And so,
This is part of the pro. This happens.
yeah.
Technical difficulties happen. You got to roll with the punches. Hey, we're live. Can't undo it. But
Yes.
hey, you got to
Yeah.
laugh at. There's been times I've had some funny moments on the show.
Mm.
I had a moment where my grandson cut off all the power on me. I'm
Oh.
in the middle of an interview, and we're having a great conversation, and everything goes blank. Like everything
Mm.
just powers out. And I turn down and I have this beautiful smile looking up at me. And it's my grandson Bryson. And he goes, "Hey, Pop Pop." And I'm looking at him and there's no power. He cut the power off of me. But it was funny because the person who was my guest, they were podcasters, so they kept going. They
Yeah.
kept going and going. So it was great. But
Yes.
you have those moments that it's
Yeah.
life. And so sometimes when my guests they'll have a dog or something come by and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Listen, no, it happens. Life happens. This is life.
Yes.
There's no reason to get bent out of shape. It's a show. We're having a great conversation. Things happen."
Yes. Yes. And I think that's the nice part and the freedom of running our businesses,
Yeah.
right? Is that things don't have to be perfect.
Hmm.
Yeah, you might put something out there and, the link isn't right, or you got a spelling mistake. I mean, we can fix those things,
Yes.
right? Again, probably comes from my ICU background, but I always tell my clients there's not much that's happening in our online business that's life and death, that's an emergency,
Yeah.
right? So if you're focusing on something and that phone beeps because your team wants you on Slack, it can wait.
Yeah.
If your inbox has 20 messages, they can wait, right? We have
Yeah.
to look at what our priorities are and focus on those.
Absolutely. So can you elaborate on your mission to help business owners shift from overwhelm to confidence and work smarter, not harder?
Yes. So again, it's about 6 game-changing habits that we need to employ as business leaders, as CEOs. And the first really is that mindset shift that even if I'm a solopreneur, I am the CEO of my business because I'm responsible for vision, strategy. I'm responsible for where this is going in the next year, 3 years, 5 years, right? That's not going to come from any of my team. That's not going to come from anybody else but me. And so, even if you are a solopreneur, I want you to start thinking like you're the CEO, which means you need to have time each and every week dedicated to working on your business, not just in your business. And what I mean by that is that you need to have a dedicated at least 1 hour. I like to call it the CEO Power Hour, where you have 1 hour each and every week. It's non negotiable. So you put it in your calendar, nothing changes, right? Doesn't matter this call, that call, you don't remove it. You attend that call as if it's the most important call of your week. And what we're going to do in that 1 hour is review, reflect, decide what our top 3 priorities are, and make sure those are in our calendar. So we'll review and reflect what? I didn't make the sales I want to make last week, right? So if we think about big businesses,
Yeah.
we've got a CEO, we've got board of directors, and we've got a bunch of VPs which are reporting to the CEO, right? VP of sales, VP of marketing, VP of operations. We don't have that in our small business, but we need to be looking as a bird's eye view at each of those different areas. So, what am I doing for sales this week, this month? Am I actively promoting something? What am I doing for marketing? How am I getting new people into my world? Is that working? Am I looking at the data? Am I looking at the metrics, right? I'm doing this tactic, I'm spending time on it, or I'm paying my team to do it. But is it actually bringing me people and the right aligned people?
Yeah.
And then
So,
what do I need to do? 3 priorities to reach my goal. So, what are my goals? And what are the next steps I have to take to get to those goals? So I like to take, our 12-month goals and break them down because most of us can't envision and follow through on big 12-month goals. We have to break them down. So break them down in 90 days and break them down into monthly goals. Now I can say, what do I need to do this week to reach that monthly goal? Much more manageable, much more bite-sized, right? I can chew on that and know what I need to do. So really having that time to review and reflect. If there's things you need from your team that week because it's a crazy week and you need some more support, make sure you're communicating that with them. Or maybe there's something you need personally, even at home, that you need that week. Make sure you're communicating that, right? That doctor's appointment that you keep meaning to book, let's get it done. Oh, you want to take a day with your wife or your spouse, or you want to go get a massage, whatever that is, but what you need personally to fill your cup, make sure that you have that in there and you have time for that because we can't keep running on the hamster wheel.
and that's actually something me and the wife have discussed recently because prior to the pandemic, we would travel a lot. We would go spend a lot of time and unwind and really
Mm-hmm.
every 3 or 4 months we would do something.
Mm-hmm.
We've kind of gone away from that.
Yeah.
And so our goal for this year is to get back to that and really focus every 3 months. Let's take a little, if it's a couple of days or whatever it is, let's take some time to go back to doing what we were doing, where we enjoyed going out and spending time and really enjoying life. Because it just can't be about work, 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 work.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause you're gonna burn yourself out.
Yeah.
You need to enjoy this moment in life. Because why are we gonna wait till we're older and retired to enjoy life? We should
Yes.
be enjoying life now.
Yes, exactly. And when you look at the studies, why do people leave corporate or whatever position they're in to become an entrepreneur? They say for freedom. Yeah, financial freedom. But the biggest reason is time freedom,
Mhm.
right? They want to be not stuck to a 9 to 5 in my cubicle or wherever your workplace was, and have that freedom to say, no, tomorrow afternoon, I'm doing X, right?
Yeah.
And then we give that up if we work continuously. So that's the thing we wanted when we became an entrepreneur, but are we actually following through and doing it? I know for myself, I was not.
Yeah, no, it really is something that we have discussed just recently within the last couple of days as well. That we really needed to get back to to those moments where we can escape and unwind and unplug. Because you
Yes.
need to unplug. You need to not always be connected. And when we go on vacation, we tend not to be on our phones. We make it our goal to really just go and enjoy what if it's a massage or mani pedi or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. It's just an escape for us to just not only is for yourself, but it's also building something with us. Like it gives us that quality time to build and have those conversations that we might not be having because we're always working.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Right. And so many of us who have done that find after the fact, we're so much better. Our mind is sharper, we're more productive, right? Than if we just grind and hustle continuously. We think we're being productive, but we're not. It's like
And
multitasking, right? We think we're being productive, but the evidence shows we're not.
so there's a phrase you use, right?
Yeah.
Escape the hustle and grind culture, right?
Yes.
So you've associated that with your mission, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel entrepreneurs can achieve this shift, right? And escape the rat race?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Again, it's about stepping out of the weeds, right? If you have people who are working for you, do they know what things they have to do to be successful this week? Are they autonomous? Can they make decisions and take responsibility for that thing? Or does it have to come to you? Well, Sally Sue makes this and then I check it. Oh, John does that and then I have to do this. Can you step away and actually have your team run the parts of the business that they're responsible for? Because when you have that, that's when you can step away from the weeds and the daily grind, right? That's when you can put on the CEO hat and start thinking strategically at a different level. But if you have to be, checking every email or checking every image and checking this, you haven't really let go and let your team be autonomous and do it, right? Are there going to be mistakes that happen? Sure. We're all human, right? But again, if your team member can do it 75 or 80% as well as you can, then you have to let them do it, right? Because that allows you to put your mind in the frame where it needs to be on the vision and the strategy.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh man, I'm having a great time. This is a great conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think another thing that really helps, at least for me, it did, and certainly for a lot of my clients, is looking at our calendar. I like to call it the scheduling ninja. And you can have this ninja working for you or against you. Of course, I want it working for me. But basically, what it is set up a model calendar, an ideal calendar for the stage of life that you are in right now. So you start with a blank calendar and you say, okay, do I have a morning routine? Is there something I like to do in the morning? Kids, grandkids, my own meditation, whatever that looks like for you, block that time off in your calendar. Is there something I do in the evening? Maybe one day a week I have a date night, or I go and play volleyball, or whatever it is you do. block that off. So you're blocking off those important things in life that you don't want to miss. And then from there, with the time that's left, you're going to say, okay, what is going to be my work hours? You're going to say, hold on just a minute. I run an online business. I don't have an open and a close time. Right. But I want you to think about it as if you do. Right. You have a time when your laptop is open and you're sitting at your desk with the ability to work.
Yeah.
And there's a time when it's closed and your team and your clients aren't expected to find you, nor are you expected to reply. Right? And so having that set time when these are my work hours, and again, they're going to look different depending on your stage of business and your stage in life. But I always believe that life first and fit your business around that, not the other way around. And so once you have your set hours, then within that, you're going to do a bit of time blocking. So I don't want you to block every minute because that gets too boxy and pushes us in a cage that we say time blocking doesn't work.
Yeah.
But I want you to block for the big areas. So for example, marketing, client delivery, getting new people into your world, sales, those are all things that have to happen on a consistent basis in your business. And again, whatever part of that process you as CEO are responsible for, you need to have time blocked off to do that, right? So if you're doing sales calls, you need time in your calendar for those. If you are responsible for some sort of the content in marketing, you need time to be able to create that, right? Just like doing the podcast interview, you need time in your schedule when people can book, right? Yeah. And so having those set times out really makes a difference when we set up our week. We also know, oh, it's Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning, I sit down and I write my new content for my membership, whatever it is you have going on, right? But it sets that routine. Oh, it's Thursday morning. Thursdays, I see my one-on-one clients, 3 appointments back to back, right? They have a set time. That's when they know they're meeting with you. And you also know that's what I'm doing on Thursday mornings, right? Then the rest of the time can ebb and flow. It can be a little more free-flowing. But those top priorities, those systems and processes that need to happen every week, rinse and repeat, are there in your calendar.
And you said something very systems.
Hmm.
That's what we people need to learn how to implement systems to make life much easier. Like you said, work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
It's something that I've had to learn as a podcaster that I've needed to build a system. I needed to, like, as far as my show goes, I have my calendar link, people share it, and then I have a process. I get the questions that I want to ask my guest. Just I have the setup. And prior to that, I didn't have I just would just go. But now I have a setup. I have a system in place on how I do my show.
Yes. And it makes a world of difference, right? Because you know now what the plan is. Yeah. You don't have to be going, oh, am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? And we can take those systems even bigger. So if you think about, a certain offer that you have in your business, if it's your signature offer, you have certain assets that you use when you go to sell that, right? Whether that's emails, whether you do a webinar, whether you're, on social doing lives, whatever that is, but you have certain assets that you use when you're promoting that offer. So each time you go to promote that offer, you just have to tweak or change those assets slightly and use them again. You don't have to start over and say, oh, now I want to sell this. How, right? You've already sold this thing before. How am I going to tweak it? How am I going to change it to make it even better? Very short amount of time needs to be spent doing that. And then your team can then implement and you can promote. Right? So having those systems working for you, it's like the gears in a bicycle, right? They're turning for you so that you don't have to be reinventing the wheel every time you want to do something in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. It's helped me grow. It's helped me grow so much from where I was originally, because it's actually helped me. Because when I first started, I was just anybody I could interview, I would interview, but then when I started really getting into it and decide that who I wanted to interview, who were
Hmm.
the guests that I was looking for, and it was coaches, entrepreneurs, growth mindset leaders, all the because that's where I felt I wanted to go personally,
Yeah.
and I felt there was a lane that needed to be shared out there. I need that people need to hear this. That people that there's even if you don't want to go into business for yourself, there's still tools that you can use that can help you in your everyday life.
Hmm.
So,
Yes.
so,
Yes.
so it was important for me to really kind of figure out what my lane was going to be. And one time I got offended because I was telling everybody, I was talking to someone and I told them all the things that they're like, you need to niche that down. And I'm like, no, how you gonna
Mm.
tell me I need to niche that down? I like talking about all these different things. But what they were really saying is that you can't, it's not that you can't talk about all these things, but narrow it down, break it down to something like you really do enjoy talking about and that's very important to you and focus on those. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh, okay.
And just simplify it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I think that's another thing that happens so often is that as our business grows, it gets more complicated when it doesn't need to, right? We end up saying, "Oh, we'll add another offer, we'll add another program, we'll add this, we'll add that." But really, if you think about it, every time you add another offer, another program, you need another marketing system. You need another client delivery system, right? And if you have the bandwidth to do that, great. But for many of us, we're at a stage where we're adding another offer, but we don't have those systems set up, that foundation set up in the first place to be able to then put that into place on rinse and repeat. So I always suggest to clients, what's your signature offer? How are you marketing that? How are you selling that? And do you have that mapped out for the year so that you have specified times when you're selling that signature offer 3 to 4 times a year? That also helps with the revenue, the up and down, the feast or famine mode, right? Because if you have your signature offer and you know each time I sell it, I bring in X amount, now you can start to forecast what that year is going to be like when you've mapped out when you're selling it, right? So, as part of those 12-month goals, we want to be looking at what are we selling and what are we marketing each and every month so that we are bringing new people into our world and we are selling and promoting what we have to offer because this isn't a hobby, this is a business.
Yeah. Oh man, this has been great. It's been a great conversation. Time flies when you're having such a great time. But now is the time where you get the solo screen and you get to plug away, let everybody know where they can find you, where they can find the podcast, everything.
Good, thank you. Yeah, so my website is ceoamplify.ca. And there you can find a bunch of resources. If you go to the resources tab, there is a CEO Power Hour download. So you can go grab that if you are listening and that Power Hour resonated with you and that's something you would like to incorporate into your business, then you can go ahead and grab that. And you can also find me on my podcast at same name, CEO Amplify. It's on Apple and Google and all the spots. So great. Thank you.
No, thank you for being a guest. This is fun. I appreciate you coming by and having this great conversation with me. I love podcasting. I love what I do. I enjoyed these conversations so much because I'm learning in the process as well. So
Mm-hmm.
to be able to learn and then also help my audience grow and develop, and so it's a win-win situation. So thank you very much. I greatly appreciate you
Yes.
being a
And
guest.
without the podcast, where would we have ever met?
And this is true. People, listen, I've met so many wonderful people
Yeah.
podcasting. I've built
Yes.
lifelong friendships through podcasting. There's some people that I haven't met in person, but I probably communicate with them every single day.
Hmm.
And so it's been a blessing to be able to do this. I'm having a great time. It's I didn't know I had this gift. I didn't know this was my
Mhm.
purpose. I didn't know podcasting was something that I was going to truly love, and to be able to do a podcast where I can help impact one person's life,
Yeah.
it's important to me. It's really I received a message the other day. I released a clip, a reel
Hmm.
of my previous episodes, and the clip resonated with a friend of mine who was struggling with something,
Yeah.
and they left a comment and they're like, "Oh man, I had to hear this message. Thank you." And that's
Mm.
what I love, is being able to impact people without, like, you never know what they're going through. So be
Yes.
able to release a reel and someone really take something from it.
Yeah.
It's I couldn't ask for anything else.
Yes, yes. I remember once I was in a group, and as we do sometimes as entrepreneurs, we're lamenting and lenting about, oh, this. And a lady was talking about her podcast. She had started, I think she was about 3 or 4 months in, and wasn't happy with the amount of downloads she was getting. And the mentor on the call said, I want you to imagine you are on stage in a stadium, and the number of downloads that you get from your podcast each week, those people are sitting in front of you, watching you and listening to you. They bought a ticket to come and hear what you had to say. And the lady was like, oh, so I could actually, make a difference in their lives with my message,
Mhm.
right? And it just hadn't clicked with her that, fine, maybe you have 20, 50, whatever number of downloads you have, but those people are coming to hear what you have to say, and you can make a difference in their lives, right? And just putting it in context of her actually visualizing herself on the stage and people actually coming to listen helped her so much. And I think sometimes we have to remember that you never know what you put out there, how it's going to help or leave an
That's
impression on someone.
50 people in a room is a lot of people.
Right, right.
50 people in one room is a lot of people.
Yeah.
So imagine speaking to those 50 people in that room. And that's how I looked at it. And at first, yeah, but I getting a lot of downloads? No.
Yeah.
But it took me being consistent. It took me niching down and focusing on what I wanted my podcast to be.
Hmm.
And it's grown. It's
Yeah.
still growing. It's constantly growing. But again, it's me being consistent with it. It's me wanting to improve,
Hmm.
wanting to learn, implementing systems, implementing email strategy,
Yeah.
implementing all these different scheduling. And I'm booked. I just got my first. Someone just booked into July. Some interview.
Right. Yes.
So so it's amazing what systems and really learning how to manage everything, and it's just helped so much. It's
Hmm.
helped me grow so much.
Yeah. And how you stuck with it,
If
right? Because the truth is, if you had done it for a month or two and you're like, this isn't getting anywhere, and stop, which a lot of podcasters do, and which we as entrepreneurs do a lot of times when we try something new,
Yeah,
we have to stick with it to see that momentum, right?
absolutely.
So
Yep.
you're like, okay, I've got a gift here. I need to be consistent and stick with this, and it's going to grow.
Yeah, and it has, and it has. It's growing and it's still growing, and it's crazy because I've fellow podcasters that they do entertainment and they do pop culture and everything, and their numbers just are crazy.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And then I look at me and I'm like, oh. But then when I speak to them, they're like, man, we wish we could do what you're doing. Is this like, yeah, we're
Mm.
entertaining people, but you're making an impact. And that to
Hmm.
me was like, oh, okay. I understand now. I was like, I was
Yes.
focusing on the wrong thing. And they're
Right.
like, yeah, we entertain these people. But when two fellow podcasters told me at two separate times told me, but you make an impact.
Mm.
You touch people's lives. They're like, we wish we could do that.
Mm.
Yes, we entertain, they laugh with us, but you are changing people's lives for what you're
Hmm.
doing. And I didn't look at it like that.
Right. Yeah.
And when I start, I'm like, man, they're right. They're absolutely right. I'm like, what they're saying to me makes sense. It's like, yeah, I would love to do the numbers they're doing, but I am making an impact. I
Mm-hmm.
am touching people's lives. I'm changing people's lives and altering the course of where they're headed.
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah. And that makes a bigger difference than the
Yeah.
numbers.
Yes, it does.
Right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But this has been great. Look, we even gave some extra time. But thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
Yes. Thank you.
But don't leave just yet. Let me close out the show. We'll chat a little bit more. But thank you for being such a great guest.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you to everybody who stopped in the chat. What's going on to my man Brian Snow from Snowman Multimedia? Love you too, brother. Facebook user, thank you. It's probably a couple of people I can think of, but whoever it is, I'll go look at it later and thank you. I'll send you a message. I greatly appreciate everybody who stops by and leaves a comment. It means a lot. Big shout out to my Real Wise fam, Poppy J, Brandy J. Love you guys. Big shout out to the boss lady. Love you and appreciate all you do for me and the family. And as always, a big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless y'all. Be safe. You know how your boy Wise does it. Peace out.